I had planned to do a non-Sarah Boone video tonight. I was going to talk about a trial that I watched a few years ago. But then I started reading your comments on the last Sarah Boone video, and then I started thinking about stuff, and then I thought I would like to make a video on discussing your comments, but I want them to have their own video, and I thought maybe there are a few questions I might want to ask. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but we'll see what happens. And so then I thought, okay, so how do let me organize my thoughts a little bit, because in case you haven't noticed, I have a tendency to just stare out into space for a little too long. I'm working on that. Make no promises, but I'm trying. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go by the alphabet, just A to Z. And I might not get through the whole alphabet tonight, but then I'll have the next one. So, and what I did is I took notes and stuff so that I'm not doing the staring into space thing. And I mean, hopefully, and just got, whatever came to mind first, A, B, C, the alphabet. And so here we go. A is for alcohol, because what else would it be for? And when we met Sarah, she was a non-functioning alcoholic. And it's not unusual for alcoholics or anyone who has a problem with any substance or whatever it is to be in denial, to claim that they're not alcoholics. That's par for the course. But what's interesting about Sarah is that she claims not to drink at all, really. I mean, she's very resistant to even admitting to having more than a glass or two of wine. I mean, if that.
I mean, I can get like maybe 2-3 glasses of wine, and I'll be fine. But I have to have my...
And also, she doesn't, first of all, she doesn't want to get drunk, and she can't get drunk. She's established that. She kind of makes it sound a lot like George drinks, so she has to for some reason. She doesn't really explain why that is. But, I mean, if you listen to her account of anything, you wonder why she's with him at all. Because, plus, she goes through his day with him and bosses him around from dusk till dawn. But she has to drink because he drinks? Of course, we know it's all bullshit.
No, we're not alcoholics.
I'm not.
We are not.
So she doesn't, at one point she says she had like a handful of glasses of wine, which is weird, a weird measurement for glasses of wine. And she insists that she really, first of all, on the weekends is when you drink. If you run, I want to know how she knows when is the weekend, because she hasn't had a job in years, and also she says because, that's when you can have a good time. But if you don't like drinking, then that's not a good time to you anyway. And she's got a lot to do. That's why she can't really get drunk, because she has a son, that she's very focused on, in case you haven't noticed. So she's sticking with, she can't get drunk. She doesn't want to get drunk. Maybe on the weekends, whenever that is. And a glass or two, maybe. She says she didn't go to Publix with George that day,
Well, I don't even know how the wine... How'd you guys get the wine for Sunday?
I'm guessing he went to Publix.
Does he leave the house and you stay home, or do you go to Publix? Cause
sometimes I'll go with him.
Okay. Did you go with him Sunday to Publix?
So most of the time...
Ma'am, using the laser pointer, could you please identify the victim and the defendant on this video?
This is the defendant, and this is the victim.
This much left of the wine from the day previous. And I think we can all safely say that a day in that townhome did not end until there was no alcohol left. And the only reason it ended was because it was either too late to get more alcohol, or they didn't have money to get more alcohol. There was never a wet bottle left in that townhome come nightfall. Guaranteed. So there was none of this. And we know there wasn't, because they bought 2 bottles. That makes a lot more sense. But it's interesting because she must have thought, okay, so I'll say there was, she knew, well, maybe she was counting for the 2 bottles. And also, she knew one bottle was kind of unrealistic, so she was like, they had a little bit, let's completely, it's hogwash is what it is. Then they show her the video where she's like, this is what you get when you know. And she has to walk it back a little bit, but not that much, not completely. She's still not admitting to being drunk. She says, well, clearly you can tell that I drank some.
But you can clearly tell that I had been drinking some. You can clearly tell.
Some? All, Sarah. I mean, did you hear yourself? And not to mention everything that went on there. I mean, clearly you can tell that I drank some. Will not admit to being drunk, even after she. So for Sarah, things are not going good because by now, whoever she's talking to, either she can manipulate, like her property manager, or Brian, or George. These are all nice people who have compassion for human beings, but they mistook her for one, I guess. It's either that or a person just doesn't want to hear her mouth anymore. It's like, that's fine, just take it, just go, you know? But these are homicide detectives, which I also don't think Sarah figured out somehow. Like, I don't think that she was talking to homicide detectives. Not that it would have changed anything with her, but, you know, they're not just going to be like, oh, all right, okay, bye, you know. This is... So she gets a little desperate, and then she says, it's the drinking. That's what it is.
It's the
You
whole...
tell us.
It's the drinking. That's what it is. It's the drinking. I thought it was like, I thought he was okay. Like, I didn't, that, you
He's
all...
telling you he's not.
Blaming it on the alcohol is a terrible thing. I'm blaming it on the wine. She, you know, we did a few versions of that, but she still did not admit to being drunk. Just because you've been drinking doesn't mean, well, who said I was drunk? I didn't say...
You're now changing
Who's
your
lying
story.
about what?
You're now you were drunk.
Oh, I never said that I was drunk.
Exactly, but you did here today. That's okay.
You said earlier.
Everything recorded.
Alcohol.
You blamed it on the alcohol.
You blamed it on the alcohol. Alcohol does a lot to people.
Yes, but I never said I was drunk.
Okay.
You did.
So you did this sober. You knowingly left him down there sober.
I have already told both of you also that we were both drinking.
Right.
Would not say it, would not admit it. Ever, really. I mean, even during the trial, she only would say she was intoxicated to a degree when it was her, it was her idea to say it, which was always at the wrong time when she shouldn't have been saying it. But when Owens would say to her, well, were you drinking too? Or you were, you know, she was like, well, we were painting, and he would say, and drinking, like he's trying to get point across that. And she's like, yes, and drinking, you know, like, why are you bringing that up? So that's the alcohol. The other A is for allocution, which was Sarah's pre-sentencing statement. And I really never thought, and I haven't read it, so I'm going on memory here because I don't think I'll ever be able to read it. It's just a venomous, hateful, ugly spewing of lies, and there's no point in giving that any time. But a few things did come to mind, and they are... from what I remember, I think it's the beginning of it, but it may have been a little bit after the Kentu Sukuroi or whatever. Kentu Sukuroi. She says that she had written George's family, I think she specifically says his daughters, apology letters, but she didn't send them for fear of retribution. I don't think she said retribution. I think she said something else. But that's what she meant. And because she was scared, as usual, that they would come after her and her son. Because, you know, she's always worried about her son. Worried about her and her family, that they were going to be murdered by this wild band of Puerto Ricans. Because nothing pisses people off more than when you apologize to them. So she thought she'd hold back. Don't send those, because that might, you know, really set them off. They're going to come bust the bars of her jail open and put her out of her misery. And she also, and so to me, that's what I picture happening there, is that she sat down to write this thing about a week and a half before she had to deliver it or whatever. And first of all, Sarah traded her freedom for that moment right there. That was what was most important to her, that she could sit down, tell her truth, which, is not the truth. It's all lies. Paint herself in the way she wanted to and think that anyone would believe her for a second. I don't know, but that's very important to her. She always wants to be heard and wants to explain, and she felt that all of these obvious lies, and I mean, she's just so unlikable. So I think she sat down to write this thing and she thought, not like this, because this is how a little too normal, but somehow she processed the following information. It would have looked better if I had sent apology letters, but I didn't. So how can I make that their fault? And then she thought, her old fallback. Oh, well, I'll say that didn't send them because I was so scared of them, which makes perfect sense to her. Like, why wouldn't anyone believe that? And though she hadn't bothered to send them anything or give them a second thought, she wants George's family to lie in bed at night and think about her. And when thinking about her, she wants them to think about how they let her down, how they didn't do enough, because they could have prevented. This is their fault. I mean, it's not Sarah's fault that she let him die in a suitcase, suffocate to death. That positional asphyxiation was all on the Torres family, not Sarah. So, yeah, that's who we're dealing with here. That's Sarah Boone. B is for Brian. And Brian I think he's a very good man. I think he's a very good father. I had the feeling from the first time we saw of him that he was obviously, I mean, they had a pattern going there, and there were a lot of things at play there. I think they'd been together for a while. I mean, a long time. They had a child together, which was the main thing. And I believe that's from the moment that Brian had a son, his son was the most important thing to him. He was obviously a very involved parent and a loving parent, and he put his son first. And I think in doing so, he had to have more of an involvement with Sarah, not only because he wanted his son to have his mother around, but because of the way Sarah is. Sarah wasn't a woman who was just working a job, coming home and picking her son up when she's supposed to. She was running over to his house drunk. She was calling him at all hours of the night, drunk. She was never picking up her, very rarely when she was supposed to. And even then, I'm sure it wasn't a super comfortable feeling, He kept their marital home and he kept the child in it so that there was some stability there. And she moved in right down the block. So he really, and I mean, one of the first things he says to Kayla Rodriguez is that he's talking to his lawyer about redoing the custody. So things were in the works there, but who knows how long that would take. And it's just, that's a very hard situation. I do not envy him. And as horrible as I think what has happened with Sarah has been on them, I'm sure it's been very hard on them. But I do feel like there might be a silver lining there, because I don't see any other way to get rid of someone like Sarah. And, usually they just stick around and make you miserable forever. For her to actually get sent away is really great. I mean, really an unusual break. And it's also worth mentioning that one of the reasons that this was so hard on him and his son, most importantly, is Sarah's behavior, because Sarah could have taken a plea deal and vanished into anonymity by now, but she would not have that, because she's who she is. She has a huge ego. She's a crazy person. She's a horrible, crazy person. And she does not care about her son, because if she did, that would be the only thing on her mind, would be how this will affect her son. 2 other B's. Bells of Malevolence, which Sarah wrote in one of her letters. Bells of Malevolence. Also, she had that sword of injustice, which is embarrassing. And Baby. B is for Baby.
And on his breastbone, right in center of the chest, right between the nipples.
Yes.
Put your other hand on top of that hand.
Baby, I'm telling you. Just by looking at him, you can tell.
Okay. And?
Please. Okay, he just gurgled.
So, C. C is for Mr. Cacciatore. C is for Catty Wampus.
The convenience store where we get cigarettes is here, and then Publix literally is cattywampus to it.
Okay.
So what he'll do
Is
is
an expression that they believed was used in the Deep South, but some people, like Sarah Boone, are keeping it alive. It means kitty corner. Compos mentis, that's Latin, you know.
You're very adamant about the fact that both of you had your wedding after. What's your favorite word to use?
compos mentis.
It means to have a composed mind or control of your mind, really. And call 911. Which we all know Sarah had no problem doing until she was calling 911 on herself, because she wasn't sure how horrific it was, so she held off on that for a while. And in the interrogation at one point, Kelsey kind of sneaks it in. She's like, so...
What's your reasoning for not calling 911 sooner?
Because I didn't know what to do and how horrific it was. I called Brian, and 5 minutes later I called you guys? Not even 5 minutes. Nonetheless, that I had to I was trying to do CPR. I had to get him out and try to do CPR, and then called you guys. And then was continually doing CPR with the dispatch on the phone.
Why did it take you so long to call 911? And Sarah's like, well, because I didn't know how horrific I called Brian. And then I called you, 5 minutes later? I think it was about 45 minutes later, but it doesn't matter. And then, of course, there's CPR. That's another C. And CPR, we all know she didn't do. But she did start screaming as soon as she had to move his body a little bit, and he gurgled. So that was the dead giveaway. Not that, I certainly didn't think that she had done any CPR, and I'm sure you all agree. He was purple, for crying out loud. D is for Drunky the Bear. That was her nickname in the townhome complex, unbeknownst to her. But her property manager was kind enough to inform the world of that, which is awesome.
What do you think is important for us to know about Sarah or George that we haven't discussed?
No, I don't. Nothing really. Her nickname's Drunky the Bear. Literally. We know they drank from sunup to sundown.
D is also for Danielle Redlick. Now, I don't know how many people know that case or know the connection here. Danielle Redlick was from Winter Park, Florida. She was arrested in 2019 for the stabbing death of her husband. She was arrested in, I believe, January of 2019. So she was arrested about a year before Sarah was. They were incarcerated together. They were in the same jail until she went to trial in 2022, until Danielle Redlick went to trial in 2022. In 2020, once they were incarcerated together, Danielle turned down a plea deal for manslaughter. She was being charged with second-degree murder. And Sarah was very kind of clinging on to her, wanted to talk to her a lot and hear about her case. And she was kind of, I don't want to say enamored, but impressed with her or interested in what's going on there and kind of wanted to be like kindred spirits kind of thing. I don't know how Danielle felt about that. Probably not great, but she had her own problems. And of course, her case is completely different, but Sarah wouldn't understand that, because for Sarah, everything is just getting away with what you want to. She doesn't understand anything about real human beings. And while Danielle Redlick was not necessarily the most likable person in the world, nothing about her trial or her case really, there are a few interesting things about it, but it didn't grab me. It didn't. However, I'm going to show you her when her verdict is read. I will tell you two things. One, Danielle Redlick was married for quite a while to a man who, before she was married to him, he was her stepfather for quite a while, for several years. Her mother died, and then she married her stepfather. So we're dealing with a very complicated situation. Not some guy you met in a bar and tortured for 3 years. She was acquitted. She was found guilty of tampering with evidence, but she didn't do time for that, and she had already had time served. She was in jail for 3.5 years. So she was acquitted of murder. And here's her verdict read.
Ladies and gentlemen, my understanding is that you have reached a verdict. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, would you please hand the verdict forms to the deputy, please?
In the Circuit Court of the Ninth Judicial Circuit in and for Orange County, Florida, case number 2019 CF 18460, State of Florida versus Danielle Justine Redlick. Verdict as to count 1, we the jury find the defendant not guilty. So say we all. Signed, juror badge number 283, foreperson. Special finding, this page was left blank. Verdict as to count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of tampering with physical evidence as charged in the information. So say we all. Signed, juror badge number 283, foreperson, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on the 17th day of June, 2022.
And would you please poll the jury?
Yes, ma'am. Juror badge number 283, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror badge number 18, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror badge number 220, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror badge number 238, are these your true and correct verdicts? Juror badge number 356, are these your true and correct verdicts? And juror badge number 5345, are these your true and correct verdicts? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and your consideration of this case. No juror can ever be required to talk about its discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases, and we have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, its discussions, and its votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. So, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. And although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty not to speak with anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, from those who might seek to find fault with you, from the media, your duties are now discharged and you are excused. Have a wonderful day. Take care. You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
That's, a human being. She has feelings, she's, right? And I couldn't help but think, of course, when she obviously thanked the jury, that was, the whole thing is very moving, and I didn't have strong feelings either way about it, but once I saw that, I was very happy that she was acquitted, because you just get a good, it was because she acted right, for one thing. I mean, and of course she had 2 children she was involved with in a very different way than Sarah was with her son, as you can imagine. So it was just interesting, and because Sarah's such robot would be a compliment, because she's such an evil creature. When you see someone acting in a way that's human and relatable and emotional, it really makes you see things even more clearly somehow, like how horrible she is and how the jury must have looked at her, as we know. So that's Danielle Redlick. E is for Eli and Kim.
Eli and Kim. Okay.
Eli and Kim. Now, I'm not going to get into what Sarah said about Eli, because Sarah lies and she's a disgusting person and it doesn't matter. But you should know about Kim. I may have mentioned this before, but Kim is not a nice person. She's just automatically not nice. Kim is not a nice person, okay? F is for Fran's Court, often mistaken for Fran's Lane. Frank Bankowitz, God bless him. And family. What are you going to tell his family? And it also stands for fuel to the fire.
And again, if you don't mind me asking, so for whatever it is you all are claiming from the videos, which, yeah, is that what you're going to tell him? Like, his parents? It's like, oh, yeah, and by the way, she did.
Did what?
I mean, what would you tell him?
I don't think it really matters what we're going to tell the parents.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's fuel to the fire.
What did she want? What did she want them to tell them? Why was she asking? What did she think the three of them could work something out? G is for guys.
So what, guys? So what? Like,
H is for Hispanic. Stay Hispanic.
And ride my bike he has, stay Hispanic, that's what you all are, and he can watch all the porn he wants from the phone mom gave him.
And while H is for Hispanic, I'm also going to work Kranick in here because K is for Kranick and he's going to get the Ks. But what some people might not know is that Judge Kranick's mother is a Cuban immigrant. So Judge Kranick is also Hispanic. Would you look at that? And I love that for him. And I love that for Sarah. She probably still doesn't know, but we know now. H is also for horrific.
this is horrific, okay? Horrific.
It is terrible.
Yeah, so
Horrific.
I think if Sarah just starts screaming horrific, she feels it. I don't know. Like she's letting them know that this is, they shouldn't take this lightly. This is horrific, because they don't understand that, I guess. I is for I got nobody, which is what she tells them in the body cam when they ask her where she can go that night since she's so terrified for her life.
Have somewhere safe that you can go tonight?
Both my parents are deceased, my grandparents are deceased, my aunt and uncle are deceased. I got nobody. I have a brother that's in the Marines, and I've got another one that's in jail.
And Les' brother that's Marines, is he local?
No. Well, he's in Altamont, but I think he's doing whatever Marine thing he's doing. But the only way...
Your phone's inside, correct?
Yes.
Does he have a phone?
No.
He doesn't have a phone?
He used my phone.
He uses your phone?
Yeah, we did it
share
together.
phone?
So, the only place I could go is over to Brian's house. So, I don't think he'll have a problem with it. Okay. So...
She says her parents are dead, her grandparents are dead, she got nobody. And then she acts like it just occurs to her that maybe it would be okay with Brian for her to stay there. And I do think also that was a lot of Brian's, they had a child together, so he couldn't get rid of her completely. But I think that all through their relationship, Sarah used the fact that her mother, because her father died a few years before this, when she was in high school, I believe. And everyone's grandparents die, but her mother had died when she was like 20 or something. And I think that gave Brian more of he felt sorry for her. He probably felt more responsible for her. And I'm sure she worked that shit into the ground because she is who she is. I is also for, I don't think you know who I am.
I don't think you all understand who I am. Where
Okay.
I'm an outstanding mother to my son. I excel at everything.
I am an outstanding mother to my son.
Okay.
I excel at everything.
J is for George.
George is the one I always seen playing with a child. Never saw Sarah outside playing with her kid, ever.
It's for juror number 3. It's for Mr. J. And J is also for John. Who's John, you might ask? I'm glad you asked. Let's watch John introduce himself, and then we're going to watch Sarah and James Owens talk about John.
State and spell your name for the record for us, please.
Juan Torres, Juantorres.
Thank you, sir.
And, during that phone call period, did you also call his brother?
Yes,
Okay, and which brother was that?
John.
Or now, how many brothers and sisters does George have?
I'm gonna list them if that's okay.
Okay.
It's John, Pharrell,
Can somebody explain that? Just, there's a question I'm putting out there. Can somebody explain that? Because I've heard Sarah call him Juan before. That's what she called him. I have a few thoughts, but they're almost so crazy that I don't even want to say them out loud. But she's so crazy that, I don't. There you go. Okay. As we've discussed, is for Kranick, the Honorable Michael Kranick, who is an exemplary judge and a good example of why we can have faith in our justice system still. K is also, once again, for Kim, who, it cannot be overstated, is not a nice person.
And like I said, she's not a nice person.
So I think I'm going to do the from L to Z in another video, because once I put all the clips in this one, it might be kind of long. Not long, but, So just in case that's what happens, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on L, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Welcome back. Last we saw each other, we were approaching the letter L. L is for Lowell Correctional Facility, where Sarah will be spending the rest of her natural life until she dies. It's not known to be a great institution. There are a lot of problems there, which is a shame. L is for Latin, of which Sarah knows 2 words, making her the smartest person on the face of the earth. L is for Lana, who is her friend that she wanted to donate the kidney to, and I'm actually going to get to Lana in the T's because there's something there that intertwines with her. L is for love him to this day. We were just discussing this in the comments. Sarah doesn't seem to understand what human love is like, which is not a surprise, and she feels that it's impressive that she still loves George the day after she killed him. I love him to this day, still. I don't think it would occur to anyone that if you love someone, the day after they die, you're... M is for murder, 2nd degree, of which Sarah was convicted. M is for murderer, which Sarah is not. In one of her letters, she says that the video, her snuff film, was mutated, spliced, and edited. So let's walk through this, shall we? Sarah gave Chelsea and Scott, the detectives, her cell phone. They handed it over to the forensic investigator specialist who went through it. This specialist found the video, but it was just a video of Sarah and George laughing and having a good time. She brought the phone to Chelsea and Scott and was like, let's work tirelessly through the night to edit, splice, and mutate this video to make it look like Sarah is slowly watching George die while she torments him. Because she's got that short hair and that good penmanship. Fuck this broad. M is for making George a better person, which was not necessary. George was a perfectly fine person, and unfortunately, I don't think it's possible to make Sarah a better person, so once again, very sad situation. M is for mother. Recently, there was a YouTuber who reached out to Sarah and wanted to interview her, and I guess Sarah had found out from her boots on the ground here that this woman had made a video in which she shows a picture, an uncensored picture of Sarah's son when he was a baby, and refers to him by name, which a lot of people do. But instead of, if Sarah was not interested in talking to this woman, Sarah certainly is not going to take the high road and just not respond. no, no. Sarah has to put everyone in her place and feel great about herself afterwards, even though she's just usually embarrassed herself even more. So Sarah writes this woman back and tells her to keep my son's name out of your mouth, which is rich considering that during Sarah's elocution, she spat Blanca's son's name, who she had killed, all over the floor. Disgusting. M is for malingering. And malingering is the fabrication, feigning, or exaggeration of physical or psychological symptoms designed to achieve a desired outcome, such as a personal gain, relief from duty or work, avoiding arrest, receiving medication, or mitigating a prison sentence. Sarah cites her glucose concerns when badgering Brian daily to send her a hot meal. Do you know what glucose concerns are? Bupkis. That's what. Sarah also had a cancer scare, and here's what I think happened. I think that Sarah went for an exam, and they found a skin tag they had to remove. And before doing anything else, Sarah immediately sat down and wrote to Brian's family court lawyer and the family court and told them that she has been diagnosed with cancer and she doesn't know the outcome yet or what the treatment will be. And in doing so, unlocked the final zone, World 8-4, level 1000, and she achieved the worst person on the face of the earth. She killed the dragon, if you will. Congratulations, Sarah. Well done. That was the first and last we heard of that cancer. M is also for mentirosa, which means liar in Spanish.
Cause right now you just a liar, a straight mentirosa. Today you tell me something y mañana otra cosa.
N. Sarah's got a lot of N words. No malicious, which is not English. It's completely improper use of the word malicious. And no malicious content, which also not correct. No malicious content was toward this at all. Or was it no malicious content was toward this ever? I'm not sure because, again, it's not really, I'm remembering it phonetically because doesn't make any sense really. It's like, I don't know so much as impaired means it did affect, yes, that kind of thing. Like, N is for non-stereotypical, because Sarah wrote a letter to, I believe it was Judge Wooten, telling him that she is an observant, intelligent, non-stereotypical inmate. Because if we all went to the Orange County Jail, where Sarah was at the time of writing this, and we looked out from the Big Bay, we would see Sarah there and we would say, what's that woman doing here? She's clearly a woman of class and distinction. There must have been a mistake. And she would look at us and she would say, compos mentis. And we would say, immediately remove her. She does not belong here. Another N phrase, not by choice. Sarah seems to think that it makes her look better if all of her attorneys, all of her court-appointed attorneys, and one that wasn't court-appointed, quit. Not that it was her choice to get rid of them. And I mean, both make her look terrible, but if anything, them leaving against her choice makes her look worse because clearly she is the problem there in such a way that they could, I mean, these are attorneys that deal with very difficult personalities and criminals all the time. They rarely quit, but I think she thought that would help her not forfeit her right to court-appointed attorneys, but again, stupid. The most famous Sarah N is not intentional, and my favorite Sarah N word, nonetheless. Sarah throws the word nonetheless around willy-nilly, using it almost exclusively incorrectly. I think she's thrilled with herself that she knows a word that's more than 2 syllables. She thinks it makes her sound intelligent and educated. Unfortunately, she is neither. You don't have to be educated to sound intelligent, but Sarah's really working against the grain here because she's got none of these qualities. Nonetheless, please, if you don't mind, and nonetheless, as I've already told you, nonetheless, I was trying to do CPR.
Nonetheless, that I had to I was trying to do CPR, nonetheless, with his family.
And is also for a 9-year-old son, which Sarah threw out as a flare every time she remembered that she had a 9-year-old son.
Especially having a 9-year-old son.
I don't know.
Like,
what
why?
having a 9-year-old son would be.
Why would I do this with having a 9-year-old son? What does having a 9-year-old son have to do with it? O is for Orange County Jail, where Sarah spent more than twice the amount of time than she did in her townhome. O is for Owens, who is MIA. Disappeared off the face of the earth, not surprisingly. Not long after the trial, he disconnected his phone number and took down the website he's had up for years and years. I don't know what he expected to happen, but none of this is a surprise to us. P is for plea deal, which Sarah was too stupid to take. P is for Patricia Cashman, who Sarah immediately told had to change her snotty attitude, and then wondered why Patricia Cashman didn't like her. Patricia Cashman also helped Sarah give birth to another wonderful Sarah Boone P word, which is pretend judge. Sarah Boone wrote Judge Cranick telling him that Patricia Cashman is so terrible that Sarah had to create a pretend judge, and she told Patricia Cashman, who has been an attorney for 40 years in good standing with an excellent track record, that she should pretend there is a pretend judge there so that she can straighten up and fly right. P is for probation officer. Sarah loved George's probation officer. She was wonderful. She says that she called Sarah once, which I'm sure she did not, and they were on the phone for 42 minutes, which I'm sure they were not. And it was just her and Sarah talking about how great Sarah is for George.
I went down and met his probation officer, which I say she's wonderful. That's one of my questions too I need to talk to you about. Hugged me and said how much she knows that I take care of him. She called me personally one time when George was at work, when he was working. 42-minute phone call. She and I just saying how grateful she is that George has me. And she knows how hard I'm working to help him.
And how much she's done for him and how much she's helped him as he lies on a coroner's slab. P is for Puerto Rican. George and the Torres family are Puerto Rican, and there is a text exchange that I don't think was read aloud in court, but you can see it, and I will show it right after the Stay Hispanic text exchange. And George says, "Thank God I'm 100% Puerto Rican," and Sarah replies, "It's American, not PR. Learn to spell," which is pathetic and would make me feel sorry for Sarah if I didn't dislike her so much. So she showed him. But in her defense, I'm sure she was extremely drunk. P is for peep. I can sit here without a peep all day. She can't. She cannot.
Where me, I can sit in here all day with not a peep.
So I had this down for P because I remembered it a little bit differently, but I had it for people don't want to be hugging like that. And actually what he says is everyone doesn't want to be hugging like that. And it was from the car interview with George's brother Juan, or John, when he tells them that Sarah had once gone to hug George's father. And I mean, I would imagine, and I don't know them, so I could be wrong, but I picture them as a kind of an affectionate family, just because that's how they strike me, which means nothing really. But I'm sure that, being affectionate and hugging Sarah are two completely different things. And you're lucky to survive one of Sarah's hugs, I think. And so she went to hug George's father and knocked him down. And Juan said, everyone doesn't want to be hugging like that. And
my dad, because she always tried to hug everybody. Everybody didn't want to be hugging like that.
And he's right. Nobody wants to be hugging like that. Every deputy that shows up at Sarah's house in the body cam, she's trying to hug, and you can actually feel them seeing their life flash before their eyes. They cannot wait to get out of there. Q is for questions. When can I get the ring back? How can I find out about the funeral arrangements? Am I getting my phone back? How about my son's laptop? Can I call his probation officer and former employees? And they're like, why? And she's like, well, because of the nice lady that she is, and because she, Sarah is such a wonderful person. She has to explain to these heathens why she would want to, which she doesn't want to really, except for to get her story out there. Which reminds me of something else that I noticed, and I'm probably the last one to this party, but it wouldn't surprise me. I always thought that first of all, the main reason that she says she's terrified of George's family is because she always has to be the victim. She has to frame herself that way. But I always thought the other part was that she was concerned about George's family's perception of her. And I'm sure she is to a degree, but this seemed she was really working overtime with this family thing and what they were going to tell them. And I realized that it was because she was scared that they were going to go talk to the Torres family and hear a very different story than the one that Sarah had told. And that also shows that Sarah knows the truth to some extent. She knows what the Torres family is going to say and why, which of course shows that she's a horrible person. It's not like she's completely delusional, not completely delusional. She knows. We've been through this before. I know she knows, but it's very hard for me to really understand. It's for read a book and ride my bike. One of my favorite clips.
Well, I'm going to go upstairs and read a book, or I'm going to go for a bike ride. Or the next thing I know, he's drinking. Where I don't want to drink. I don't want to drink. The occasional wine, whatever, or if it's a weekend, that's when you have a good time. You don't have to wake up the next day.
S is once again for snotty attitude. S is for somebody needs to call Brian. And S is for sword of injustice, which she wrote in a letter to Kranick incorrectly. Of course, she meant sword of justice, which still sounds stupid. It is not medieval times, despite what Sarah's haircut seems to think. S is for single parent, and I think that it's got to be easier for Brian to be a single parent than to be co-parenting with Sarah, which says it all and really tells us what an outstanding mother she was. And last but not least of the S's is swear. Sarah does not like to swear unless she is alone with George and recording it on her phone, in which case she has a very foul mouth. But the rest of the time, she's pretending that she does not like to cuss. She apologizes for cursing when she's speaking to deputies in the body cams. And if anything, she's usually, not always, but repeating something that George said because he's such a foul-mouthed monster. On the stand, she asks Owens if she can cuss. Just embarrassing. And then there's the penultimate Sarah swear.
I promise you, on my son's life, it was not intentional. I promise you, life, it was not intentional.
I don't know you. I can't say I know anything about you. I don't know what would be a true statement, what would not. You're promising on your son's life, that's fine.
That's how much it means.
Sorry.
That's how much that's how much it means.
Okay.
I hope you take that to heart.
Can't you just hear the last drop of patience leaving Chelsea as she hears that? And who could blame her? T is for George Torres. May he rest in peace. And the Torres family, may they find some peace. And T is for Tanika's 2 cents. Now, we've discussed this in the comments. A lot of you have mentioned her because, for obvious reasons. And she recently got a whole bunch of Sarah's tablet texts. And I, of course, told you that I know Tanika's 2 cents, although I'm very glad for the suggestion, because if I didn't, I should. I've been subscribed to her channel, I think, when she first started this particular channel. And she started it because she said that Sarah was like a train wreck. She couldn't look away from it, and she needed to talk to people about it, which was exactly why I was so happy when I found her channel. And, you know, and so recently she has been reading these texts, long texts from Sarah, very long, of course. She's got a lot of words, and they all mean nothing. And she's been reading some with her and Lana. Back to, I'm tying it all in there, you see. And in these emails, texts, they are both blowing sunshine up each other's skirts, which I get why Sarah's doing it. I also think that Lana found Owens for Sarah and paid him, but that's just speculation on my part. So I'm thinking, why is Lana, what's in this for Lana, you know? And in hearing the text, reading them, I'm thinking the only possibility I can think of maybe is that she thinks she's supporting the underdog, but Sarah's really not an underdog at all. And the thought that anyone would think of her as such sends chills up my spine. I feel like, I mean, Lana does not seem, she's an intelligent woman. She's not well. She could do better. She could get a better friend. Not because she's not well, but because anyone could get a better friend. And she seems like a perfectly nice person. I don't know. Maybe she's a sadist, and that's why she likes Sarah. I do not know. Even if you want to provide support to someone who is incarcerated, why pick a person who recorded themselves taunting, insulting, and cursing and laughing at someone as they slowly died? Does anyone have any thoughts on this? Because it's very strange to me. Also, just in case anyone watching this doesn't know Tanika, I will put the link down below for Tanika's 2 cents. She also, Tanika that is, told us about the judge in the upcoming Stephen Stearns trial, so we know that Mr. J is the state's attorney. And what I didn't know is that the judge is the same judge as the Anthony Tote trial. And that is a star-studded cast. And I actually mentioned this judge a few videos back because he said something to Anthony Tote that kept coming to mind during Sarah Boone's trial, which was that Anthony Tote was a destroyer of worlds. And I kept thinking about that when thinking about Sarah and watching that trial. T is also for, that's my name, don't wear it out. V is for violent when she's drunk. Can you imagine somebody asks someone to tell them about you, even if it's, let's say it's an ex-spouse, okay, somebody who, not your best friend, but somebody who, there's some bad blood there potentially. And the first thing they say is they can be violent when they're drunk. I mean, that's, wow. V is for videos, which I will never show. V is for verdict.
Your answer?
State, do you recognize our jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, do you recognize our jury?
Yes,
Right. Members of the jury, you may be seated. Thank you. Members of our jury, good evening. I understand that you've come to a verdict in this case.
Yes.
If you could please hand the verdict form to the deputy, please. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, if you could please publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 9th Judicial Circuit in and for Orange County, Florida, case number 2020 CF 2603, the state of Florida versus Sarah Boone. Verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree as charged in the information. So say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 25th day of October 2024. The form has been signed by the foreperson.
Madam Clerk, please poll our jury.
Juror in seat number 1, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror in seat number 2, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror in seat number 3, is this your true and correct verdict?
And, you know, when the trial was going on, I felt, and I think a lot of us felt, that because we had known Sarah for so many years and we knew so much content there and we knew they couldn't get it all in, I think we were worried a little bit, like, is the jury gonna understand? Are they really gonna get it? And what I realized is that it was actually more effective to have it all in, you know, because we kind of got it in drips and drabs and collected it as we went. I mean, I saw the interrogation. I don't think I saw any of the body cam footage for a long time after that. And then other footage came and other things. But they really got to see it in one little bitter pill. And I think that was effective. And I especially think it was effective the way Jay showed. He didn't tell. He played all of the body cam, the interrogation, everything, and he didn't explain to them why Sarah is guilty and why she's horrible and why she needs to be locked up. He trusted them to see it and come to that conclusion themselves, which is much more impactful in my opinion. And it was just really well done. And of course, I mean, I think now, of course, in retrospect, I realize that they must have walked right in there and right into the courtroom and taken one look at Sarah and been like, she ain't right. And let's face it, we're all terrified after Casey Anthony's trial. I mean, that really spooked us forever. W is for Winter Park. W is for way, shape, and form.
And I tried in every way, shape, and form.
W is for Woodbridge Chardonnay. W is for whatever it is you all...
Mm-hmm. And again, if you don't mind me asking, so for whatever it is you all are claiming from the videos, which, yeah, it's...
W is for what really happened that night. And this is a bigger discussion for another time. But, I mean, I think we all know what didn't happen, which is tag and seek. And I've got a few commonly shared thoughts on potential things that could have gone down that night. So, yeah, maybe we think about that and discuss it in the near future. W is also for regular ransom. Regular ransom. X is for all the X-rated videos that Sarah watched on her phone and blamed George, which Mr. J put her on blast for during the trial. Y is for, y'all don't know me. Y'all don't know me.
Y'all don't know me. You don't know me. Nope.
And I am very glad that Sarah can never be a pet owner again, because Sarah should not be responsible for keeping anything that's alive. Sarah should not have a plant. Sarah should not have a pet rock, although she does resemble one. So that concludes the alphabet, which I have, of course, been thinking of and remembering things that I did not mention all through. One of you, of course, reminded me of Dr. Pepper and cigarettes, which is like, duh. And I may have to go back at some point and do the alphabet all over again. But first, I'm going to have to spend some time compiling all of the stuff that I forgot so that I don't have to do it again. And this was very fun, I thought. I hope you enjoyed it. I would like my next video to be non-Sarah Boone. I think I should break it up a little bit for our mental health. I do think this is very cathartic and very good therapy. I think it's very good for us to laugh at horrible criminals. It's the safest way to deal with it, and it's pretty insulting to them, which I like. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.